Okay guys, I am so excited to be putting together this quilt. This is the Fort Worth Fabric Studios Love Supreme quilt. We have been putting together all of these blocks for 3 weeks, and now it is time to assemble our quilt. So this is what the quilt will look like when we're done. It's super cute. I'm so excited. So I've already gone over all of the instructions so far, and number one is that we are going to sew 2 rows of hearts together, and there are 5 hearts in each row. They say that we can press our seams as we desire, and then we'll set those 2 rows aside. Number 2 is that we're going to sew 2 rows of X's and O's, just like this, where we're going to have XO, XO, and then OX, OX. We can press those seams as desired, and then we are going to arrange the rows and the sashing strips as they are shown here. So we will have these sashing strips that we cut in the first week. We are going to take the A strips. I lost place where I was. Arrange rows and sashing strips as shown in the colored diagram, figure 1. Sashing strips are intentionally left longer than needed. Trim after sewing. Okay, that makes sense. We recommend starching block rows prior to stitching. Completed blocks have bias sections and will stretch. Okay. When we are adding the sashing, we need to be careful not to stretch the rows. And okay, so here's a good tip. Whenever you know that you have bias sections that could stretch, what I do is I will pin, or in this case, since it's going to be long, right, I would use pins. I just wouldn't use the Wonder Clips in this particular case, because it just make it heavier for you to carry around, and then that's all. That's the only reason. So I will probably use pins on mine, and that's the best you can do. Yes, definitely starch, which I always do that with mine anyway, so I will make sure I show you how I do that. No science to it or anything, but I'll definitely walk you through that so you can see what I do, and pin it. So if you just pin it to within an inch of its life, starch it up, that's the best you can do. And you also, guys, I can't stress enough, this is just my opinion, of course, but it's happened to me so many times that I'm pretty sure I'm correct. So slowly. When you have bias sections that can stretch, this is for either quilting cotton fabric, or to me it happens when you're using something like Minky, which has a lot of stretch in it. And if you're using like knit, yes, you want to use your walking foot. That's definitely the smart thing to do. But also, I just find that if I sew more slowly and pay attention to, my top or bottom fabric, either one, not doing a whole lot of moving, and just as I'm pushing, not pushing, that's the wrong term, because you really don't want to push your fabric. You guys all know that. But when you're guiding your fabric through, if you're going slower, you will notice much quicker if there is something going on that you need to pay closer attention to. If you're going like super fast, then you will, it's possible you'll see that you're getting askew or whatnot, but you're going so fast that you're gonna not catch it in like an appropriate amount of time, in my opinion. Now, that said, listen, you guys are all grown adults. You can decide how you want to sew your strips together. That's totally up to you. But those are just my tips. Those are the things that I do to, try to eliminate those types of errors. Okay. Now, let's see. It says that we are going to stitch rows from top to bottom. So we'll start with a row of A on the top, and we're going to attach that to a heart, and then we're going to attach another white row, and then we're going to attach this whole section here, and then a white strip, another heart, and a white strip. And then once we're done putting all those together, that's when we're going to add the sashing. So, and the eye is the sashing that we have. Let's see. Okay, after stitching all rows, trim sashing strips and square up completed quilt center as needed. Okay, so like she said, the white strips and, well, the white strips are longer than the quilt in the middle, right? And that was done purposely so that once we're done attaching, we can just square it all up and then attach our borders. Okay. Now it does say completed quilt center should measure approximately 40.5 inches by 40.5 inches. Now I think that she probably said that because we need to try to just make sure we're going to have enough border. That's all. Because the border is going to go a certain amount, and then this will go, you know, that kind of thing. And she did say approximately, so, you know, approximately. Number 4, we are going to use 2 C fabric. Why does it say C? Where did I have, do I have C somewhere? This says binding. I see I and A. Okay, so I'm a tad bit confused, but it could be that I labeled things wrong. I don't know, but this is definitely the sashing. This is not our border. This is border. I'm terrible. Okay, look it. Let's just get started making our hearts, our heart rows. Scooch this over for a second. Now, what I wanted to show you guys, and we've been talking about this a bit, because well, actually, not just my hearts. None of my blocks are ever large enough. Okay. And a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people saying that they have the same trouble. So here's what I do. And seriously, you do not have to do this. Okay. But my blocks, I don't know why, but every time I am piecing blocks, they just are never big enough. Like they'll say, trim them down to 5.5 inch square, and mine are already like 5 1/4, and I'm like, So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you that honestly, like if you guys weren't watching, I'd probably just try to like smudge them together. I'll be honest. That's what I would do. However, I'm going to show you guys something that we can do. Let's see if I can get this. This might be too big. Is that? No, that's all right. Okay, so let me go back to our, I do have it here. Hold on. I have those instructions from the first week. Where? Well, I just need to get to the heart ones, actually. Okay. Once these are finished, they were supposed to measure 8.5 inches square. Okay. This actually measures, I'm just going to get an approximate. Okay, first of all, if you're looking right here, I'm going to try to zoom in. You can see that it's along the edge, but right here in this area, like from about right here to right here, my fabric does not go all the way to the top of the ruler, even though it does everywhere else. So that's one of the things that happens to me a lot. And as far as this side, it's doing the same thing right here where the red is. It's harder to see that part because it's dark. It's a dark color. Now, right over here, I'm like 1/8 of an inch short right there. And almost to the 8.5 right there. Okay. So the thing is, or the thing I'm looking at is, it's too small by, gosh, 1/8 of an inch, if anything, right? But it's easier if your blocks are at least square, right? I would fully admit that. But I've learned, since mine are never square, that what I do is this. Now, if it were way off, right, then I would trim some up. But the reason why I don't want to do that with this particular or these particular blocks is because we have this measurement right here. We don't want to cut too much off of this point or even this point down here, because, well, and over here too. I mean, we've got these two sections where we've got that 1/4 inch, right? And we don't want to dig into that, because if we do, then we're going to cut our point off whenever we're sewing them together at a 1/4 inch. Okay? So, when it's me, I make the decision that I'm not going to trim it. Here's what I do. I am going to take the first two that are going to sew together, and I am going to eyeball, or not eyeball, but use my eyes. But I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about to make sure that all of the little seams are lining up. Okay, so I will pull this back, and I will lay it back just a little bit, and I can see that the seams are lined up. Okay, so that's an awesome spot right there. So I am going to take a Wonder Clip, and I'm just going to clip that right there so that I know I've checked that one. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to get to this one, and boom, those are pretty much lined up too. This one might be able to move just a tad to the right. I mean, like the smallest little tad, right? But it is pretty much right where it needs to be. So I will Wonder Clip that. All right. I'm going to pull this one back. That one's off. Okay. Can you see how I have a seam here, and then I've got a seam here? You're looking at about 1/8 of an inch. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave this one clipped, because this is the one that's going to be affected if I move this right or left. Okay. So I'm just going to unclip this one for a second. And I'm going to try to scooch this over a bit so that they are lined up. Okay, so now they're lined up. I'm going to Wonder Clip that. And let's go back over here and see how badly did that move things. It's actually not bad. In fact, I'm pretty happy with that. Especially with the way, I mean, guys, I'm telling you, there are so few people who actually get perfect blocks every time. Those people, I think they were just born to quilt. Me, I'm born to make things I like. Okay, and see, like that one is lined up too. I think it looks great. Okay, I'm not worried about any of that at all. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is, see how we're looking here, and I can see that the block on the bottom is a little bit larger here and there, and it's a little bit larger over here on the left, and there's a little curve down here. Now that I've kind of eyeballed that and I have in my head exactly where everything's laying, now I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to look at it the other direction. Okay, it looks like I've got a little bit of a lip here. So that means that it's kind of doing that on both sides. And there's that little lip right there. But then this one goes out a little bit. So this top one goes out a little and then comes in. So here's what I know I'm going to need to do. This line right here, and then the gingham, and then this one. So I'm going to line up on everything I see, and I won't worry about it. And that's how I do my 1/4 inch seams. Okay, I am just here to show you what I do. Okay, you guys, you know, find out what works for you. There are some of you, like my friend Lynn, who has practically, I mean, not even practically, her squares, her blocks, her quilts, everything always come out perfect. And no, I don't hate her. I think she's awesome. But you could look at that and go, darn, like she always gets perfect stuff. Now, I never do. But that's okay. I love her. Okay, so if you look right here, I am going to put my, by Scout, I'm going to put my 1/4 inch line right along here, and even where this bottom square pokes out, I'm just going to go and follow that line. Okay, because that is the dominant line right there. And I just put my my 1/4 inch line just, I mean, like just to the outside of the fabric, because when I'm going to mark it with my friction pin, the pin has a width and you just want to make up for that, okay? So that's the only reason I go a little bit outside. And I've learned all these tips, guys, from listening to other people. So I'm not telling you anything that's coming straight from my brain. These are all things I learned. And like I say a million times, somebody someday is going to learn all this stuff from you. Okay, so that's my 1/4 inch line. And if I want to zoom in just a little bit right here, you can see exactly what I'm talking about, how everywhere else it looks okay until you get right here and you can see that that fabric on the bottom, it's just a little bit longer, but that's going to be part of the 8.5 inches that we have to do square. So I just use that line. I make sure they're on top of each other and I use that line. Okay, so I'm going to put my binder, why do I keep calling them binder clips? A wonder clip. Right. Okay, so here I am at the sewing machine ready to sew this 1/4 inch line. So let's just do that. I am going to press my seams open. So I have shortened my stitch length to 1.4 millimeters. Just to give a tighter stitch and help to hold these fabrics together. Now I am using my stiletto on these seams just to make sure that as they are passing under the needle, they don't get twisted. Go on, buddy. All right, so I have sewed along my 1/4 inch stitch line, and now I am going to do my pressing. And normally, I mean, I would just add them all on and then do my pressing at the end. I'm only doing it this way as to be able to show you guys, okay? Because you can go ahead and just do all your stitching at once and then worry about your pressing. I'll put that there. Okay, so first I'm just going to press this seam just to close up all those thousands of holes we've just punched in our fabric. And I am lifting the iron up and down. You don't want to, especially in this instance, and especially whenever we're going to get to the parts where we are sewing on the borders in the middle, which may have some skewing to them, you want to be very careful that you're not pulling, okay? Well, pulling or pushing, really. Okay. So this is a pressing stick that my husband made for me. All I do is I lay the seam right down the middle, and then I use my fingers to pull it apart. This will just be so that I can get the iron right there. And I am actually not touching the fabric hardly at all right now. I'm not pushing on it. I'm just trying to get my iron right on that seam. That's all I'm doing. Now I'm pushing down on it. So especially with all these blocks, guys, we're going to be lifting up and then pressing down. Sometimes you can get away with doing a little rubbing, but in these instances where they are giving us the warning about the bias, we want to make sure we are lifting up and then pressing down. Okay. So now you can see that exactly where we wanted those lines to go across, they did. Okay? And I think that looks awesome. I think it's actually fine. If you went in with a magnifying glass, you might see that that one is off like a teeny tiny little bit. But guys, like seriously, that's nothing. So now we're going to put on another block. So this is the part I wanted to show you. Okay, so we're going to do it the same way. The only thing is, it's just going to be slightly different because now we've got something hanging off of, you know, the side of one of them. So we're going to put them right sides together. And I'm actually going to do the same things, except you can really, you know, I mean, you could still do it on this side, but we're just going to be looking for the seams lining up, okay? Okay, so the first thing I want to do, because we've already got one square patched on this side, I am going to make sure this line or this seam here is matched up first. So I'm just going to pull this back, and that actually looks really good right there. So I'm going to turn it around and move the iron. And I'm going to pull this one back, and just going to, actually that one looks really good too. Okay, so I am going to put a wonder clip right there just to hold it. And then I'm going to check the top and bottom. All right, this one could actually move up. This side should move toward me just a tad. I barely moved it. And that looks okay. I would like to move it more, but let's see what it looks like over here. See, that's like perfect. So let me just pin that there. And I'm going to flip it over. I want to take a look from this side. I'm trying to get where I can have as much light as I can. Okay, so that one is still off a tiny bit. But let me tell you something. Here's what I'm thinking. This is not going to, in other words, here's where I'm going to be stitching, right? So that really is not going to matter, as in we're not going to see these lined up together. The reason why I'm checking is because I want to make sure that the squares themselves are squarely on top of each other. That's my real goal. So because this one is good, I think I'm just going to stick with that. I think it's really good. Now I'm going to take this Wonder Clip off for just a second so that I can draw my line. And I'll just say again that, you guys, I do draw a 1/4 inch line. I do not use or depend on a 1/4 inch foot on my sewing machine. Now that is, honestly, that's just a personal preference. If you are using your 1/4 inch foot and it's working for you, then you should absolutely keep doing what is working for you, because, you know, that's what we do. We find something that works for us and, you know, keep doing it. If it's working and your blocks are coming out like they're supposed to. You see, now, if you see right here, the reason why I'm going below is because that block is not, it's not square, right? Both of them, actually, because you can see both of them are not all the way to the 1/4 inch line, but all the way across the rest of it is even. So I'm going to go with that, and I'm just going to put that there, and that will at least make my block look square, okay? Now I could have, well, you can if you want, like try to square these up and make them smaller, but what'll happen is you're gonna lose those points. And that's why when you have something like this where, you know, points have to match up and you're getting to, you really need to just fudge it in this way instead of trimming it again, because if we trimmed it back, we would lose this point right here, both of them. So you don't really want to do that. Okay, and I'm going to put a couple because what's going to happen is I'm going to have weight now. As I'm pulling this, I'm going to have weight on the Wonder Clips, and I don't want to risk that fabric moving. Just put whatever you think you need. I usually go for overkill. All right, so we're going to continue sewing this. Okay, so I have completed my 2 heart rows, and now that those are complete, I am going to put them aside so we can start the middle section. Okay, so now we are going to sew rows of X's and O's together. And here are our X's and O's. And okay, so we're going to be putting them together as XOXO and then OXOX. So let's start putting those together. I'm going to first take one X and one O, and I will put them right sides together. And the good thing about this one, if you guys notice, we don't have to line up any seams. So it's not like the hearts where they were coming together and we needed to have those points there. So this will be a little more forgiving. Okay, so you can see that my blocks are completely off. My X blocks are definitely bigger than my O blocks. And so I am just going to try to make sure that my O is right in the middle of the X's. Hi, Scout. Hey, buddy. What's going on? What's up, dude? Well, you can't, I know, yeah. You can't sit right there. You can't sit right there, buddy. You want to say hello? Oh, stop it with the biting. Here you go, sweetheart. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go with this being, you know, pretty much where I want it. So I'm going to put my seam here. I think that seems like they're all pretty much the same, which is not very good. I don't think it really matters. So, all right, because they're all, yeah, because the X's go around like this and the O's go around like this, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to draw my allowance there. And so you guys can see, I mean, it's, my blocks are not, and I could square them up. In this situation, I probably could. Like, I could probably put all of my X's and O's in one stack and try to see, you know, how big they are and stuff like that. There are some people, you guys, I'm telling you, and I agree with you, there are some people out there that every time they make their blocks, boom, they just look perfect. Mine, like, never do. And I have before trimmed up my squares, and I just don't really like how they look once I do that. So that's why I sort of choose to, I guess you would say, wing it. You know, I don't know. It works best for me. If you want to trim up your blocks, please trim up your blocks. I mean, I am used to this, and this is how I work with it. So what I'm going to do is, these two blocks right here on this side are even, okay? And then over here, the bottom block, which is my X, sticks out a little bit more than the O does. And then right here, the X sticks out quite, you know, like 1/8 of an inch more than the O does. Now, what I do know is that when I measured my X's, they were much closer to the size they were supposed to be than the O's. So I'm going to err in the direction of the X fabric, which is on the bottom. So I'm going to line up definitely right here. And then over here, I'm going to just look at the bottom fabric. And if I know that it's good here and then it's good on this side, then wherever it is on the back, I'm just going to leave that there. I have to trust something, and that's what I trust. I know this one is good. This one is pretty close, and then everything else looks pretty good whenever I line them up. And honestly, guys, that's how I do it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying this works for me. And my blocks are getting better, actually. Mine used to be a lot worse than they are now. So I think I'm getting better at, heck, I don't even know what. Because to be honest, like, I am pretty precise with everything, I feel. And I still have problems with my blocks. I still do. It's better than it was, but it's still there. So I just try to, you know, deal with it as best I can. So now I'm just going to put these Wonder Clips so that it stays together. All right, so I'm going to take this over and sew that line. Okay, so I am going to start on the second row now. I did finish the first one where I had the XOXO. Now I'm going to do OXOX. And the only thing I'm really paying attention to, and the reason why I'm sort of doing it that way, is because I'm trying to sort of get my letters, at least on the O's, to kind of be, well, you know, where we have this fabric that has the words that's on the fabric. So I'm just kind of trying to put them right side up. That's all. So anyway, here we go. And just to let you know that move that I just did, once I have my ruler set down where I think I want to draw my 1/4 inch line, I will take another ruler, doesn't matter which one, and I just want to try to see if these edges are pretty close. I don't get all perfection on that just because my blocks are not perfection, so I just want to make sure they're not completely out of whack. Like this one's really good. This one is a little off, but that's probably going to be more because of like this being off or something like that. But that's what I'm doing. I'm just sort of trying to see how square my square is, or my block is, once I have my 1/4 inch line down. Okay guys, so I have finished sewing all of the rows together that we need to sew together. And so now we're going to start putting the quilt together just one row at a time. So the first thing we're going to do, if we're going to go in this direction, is I'm going to have one of these A strips, which I will take out now. Okay, and we are going to take one of these strips and we are going to sew it to the top of one of the heart rows. And so I'm going to give this a quick press, and then I'll show you how I'm going to, because I will do just a little bit of cleanup on where, you know, the top and the bottom of everything where they're going to attach. So I'm going to do that in just a second. Okay, so I have pressed that. I'm just going to kind of scooch these a little bit. And I can probably move these for a bit. Okay, let me scooch the rulers out of the way. Okay, so what I'm going to do to clean up, and if you already have a procedure, then please follow whatever yours is. But I'm basically going to just take the longest ruler that I have, which is 18.5 inches. You can get them longer, but for me, like, I'm 5'4" and my arms aren't that long anyway, so 18 was perfect for me. Okay, so what I do is I am going to take my 1/4 inch and I'm going to put it right on the edge of those points in the heart, because I want to make sure that I'm keeping those points, right? Okay, so I really don't have that much to trim, and mine are still, you know, they're still wonky. I mean, they always will be. But this is the best that I can do to sort of clean mine up. And I don't want to go any smaller than that because you know, that's where my points are, and I don't want to lose those points. I'm going to mark my seam allowance on the white part. Okay. And I know that I kind of want my words to go this way. So that means that this part of the seam right here is where I want to mark. So I'm going to flip that over. And I mean, it will have a tendency to skew because it's these long strips. So what I do is I will take my, I'll take my ruler, and I just sort of hover it I don't like when I see that white line. I just sort of hover it over until I'm going to put it down, because then it'll move. If I start, and I don't want to do that, I want to sort of see where I'm going to fall. And then I just sort of lay it down. And now when I'm making my mark, I am going to hold it down with my whole arm. That's why you always see me doing that, because I wanted to keep it as still as possible. So nothing is moving. Okay. And I'll just scooch it down. And same thing. Oops. Okay. It looks pretty good, except right there. I'm going to just kind of scooch it a little bit. And the rest of it looks okay. And then this last little bit, okay. Okay, so now I have this done. I'm ready to attach them, and I was doing some editing on the sewing that I've already done prior to today, and I did say that I would pin it to within an inch of its life. I'm rethinking that, to be honest. The only reason I'm rethinking it is because it's such a long piece, and because they've given us this extra, what I'm going to do is I am going to just go over to the sewing machine. I'm going to have, I need to turn it this way because that's how it's going to flip. And I'm going to put it on here, and you can't see either side, but I have like a good, like 3 inches on either side. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I will just put it down at the beginning, and I'm going to sort of just hold it down. I'm still going to sew very slowly, and I am going to, I'll show you guys on the first strip as I'm sewing. I'll not speed up, that way you can see what my process is, and I'm going to try doing that, to be honest, because it's just, that's a heck of a lot of pinning, and if something does start skewing, even though I don't want it to, it would be a whole lot harder to try to fix because of the length of it. I would have to almost unpin everything. Do you know what I'm saying? So anyway, look, I'm giving it a go. We're going to try to do it this way. So let's head over and give that a go now. Okay, so here we are. I am going to leave like, 2-3 inches out on this side, and I'm going to make sure that my edges are lined up together. Since I have done a little bit of cleanup, hopefully that will help a bit with holding these together. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get this started. And what I have here is a digital dual feed. It is a foot, but it's sort of like a walking foot. It's just different. It's this newfangled thing that they have on the baby locks, and so it does do the same thing. I'm going to shorten my stitch length. Okay, I'm shortening mine to 1.4 millimeters. Anything around that is fine. 1.5, 1.6, whatever you've got. And since it's white, I can sort of see where the red is underneath, and looks pretty good right now. Okay, and I'm just going to make sure that everything's laying pretty flat. I have a little bit of a lip out right here. I am taking that into consideration. Just holding it down. Again, not pulling or pushing or anything like that. Alright, so I'm coming near a seam. I'm just going to slow down so that it doesn't get all twisted in there. Kind of fudge that one just a little bit because I can see that the red coming through is just a little bit off from the others. I'm not going a whole lot because I don't want to, again, that'll skew your fabric as well, so you want to be careful about that. It'll probably cut off my end a little bit because, like I said, I don't want to interfere with twisting the fabric or anything like that. That one might go up just a tad. Okay, here we go. Looks good. This is just the seam. I'm slowing down. Okay, I'm coming to the point in the heart, so I definitely want to slow down there because you're going through multiple layers where you have all those seams meeting, and that's another time when you could get potentially some twisting in the fabric, for lack of a better term. Okay. Okay. A seam right here and sewing over. I'm going to slow down a little bit there. Okay, so I'm coming to a seam in the heart. I'm going to slow down a little bit. Okay. We're getting to the end, guys. This seems like it's taking forever, doesn't it? I'm sitting here sewing and crossing everything I got that it won't look so ridiculous when I show y'all. So it's like, Yvette, you're supposed to be the expert, right? Expert. Okay, I'm just going to trim this long tail. Okay, so I finished stitching down that first row to our row of blocks of hearts, and I sewed that to the wrong side. I mean, we need one on that side, but I forgot that the hearts are supposed to be flipped the other direction. Okay, it's okay. We were going to have a white on both sides anyway, so no biggie. All right, so the first thing that I would do is I am going to give that row a quick press just to close up all those little holes, like I say all the time. Don't know, I think my iron went, yeah, it went cool, but let's just see if it'll, needs to heat up just a bit more. Again, I'm going to do an up and down motion. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, of course, I'm going to press my seams open. It's just a preference. Okay, might have to adjust that a little bit as we go. So what I'm going to do is I lay my seam right on top of my pressing stick with the seam being right in the middle. And I'm not pushing or anything. All I'm doing is I'm going to use my fingernail to just separate it so that the iron can lay on it, right? So I'm just going to do that. Sometimes whenever I'm doing this, you will notice that maybe I'll like run my fingernail over it just to make it a little bit easier, but I will not do that while working on this just because of the bias. So I'm basically just holding it open until I get the iron, and I'm just smoothing the iron on top. I'm not pushing it or anything until I have it where I want, and then I'm pushing down. So you just lift it up that little bit, and that's enough to move it from one spot to another. It's all you have to do. Okay. Let's see where the top is. So you just want to lift the yarn up just a little bit so that you're not coming higher than the fabric, because it'll release and then you'll end up with your crease in the wrong place. So you're just lifting it up enough that you can get in there and then push it and just lay it right back down. You're not going to push anything. I know I keep saying that over and over, but it's very difficult to tell when you're looking at, you know, the iron from the top. It's hard for you guys to see that I'm really just lifting and then lowering. I think we're at the end here. Yep, that's pretty good. Okay. Okay. So they are supposed to be like this, which means also that like my words are the wrong direction now. So, oh well, that went out the window. That's okay. That's okay. That was just a self-imposed thing anyway. Okay, so I think it looks really good. It looks like it's laying pretty flat. You know, I'm happy with it. I think it looks good. I don't see anything kinking too much. I don't see, so we must have done okay of a job. We lost a tiny little point right here. I'm just going to point out so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This one has a little bit of extra fabric, but I don't think people are going to notice that because it blends right into the white. That one looks okay. This one looks okay. This one, we lost a little bit of the point. And really, I think the rest of them look okay. But I mean, honestly, guys, this is me nitpicking. Because really, when you guys were looking at it, did you go, oh, look, she's lost that point. She's lost this point, blah, 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 blah. No, of course not. Because nobody looks at it that way. We look at it that way because, you know, we're the creators. And so we're looking at every single flaw that we have. But I think it's actually coming out really nice. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to sew up every piece. I will record every single thing I'm doing, but I'm going to speed up the camera so that you guys can just watch me putting it together, okay? Okay, so I have my quilt top all put together except for the borders, and we are going to do that as soon as we square up the quilt. So I want to point something out. This block over here, let me see, let me pull it down a little bit more. This one right here was a good 1/2 inch shorter this way than all of the others. So there was no way I could just leave it that way. So what I did was and listen, I have no idea what I'm doing, guys. I was just winging it here, trying to figure out what I should do. I'm sure there's more that I'm gonna have to do here. Like I'm gonna have to try to sew that in. I'll get to that. But for now, all I did was I just sewed another piece of this white. Thank goodness I had some. And so now I'm going to just trim everything up, and let's just see where we are after that. Okay, so this thing is big. And it's just awkward with me trying to show you guys everything because I've only got a certain amount of quilt that you guys can actually see in the camera. So I do the best I can to let you see most of what I'm doing. Okay. So I will just take a ruler, and you guys, I feel like almost like an imposter sometimes, I have to tell you, because with quilting, honestly, I've had no formal training. I taught myself how to do all of this. I just wanted to say that up front. Now, what I am noticing is that this block is like a 1/4 inch shorter than everything else. And I get, it's like I'm sitting here and I'm looking at all of this and I'm thinking, these people have come to my YouTube channel thinking that I'm going to show them some, I don't know, some crazy answer to how to fix all these problems or how to even not have these problems to begin with. And I wish I were one of those people who didn't make all these mistakes or didn't have all these mistakes in my quilting. But guys, honestly, I do. I still do. I've been quilting for 20 years and I still have these issues whenever I am doing a pieced quilt top like this. I just always do. I wish I were one of those people who didn't, who like it just either came naturally or everything just came together and it was lovely, but it just doesn't happen. So I'm thinking, actually, now that I'm laying this down, that I might have to put, because a 1/4 inch is a lot. If I'm going to not lose these points, I can't, because obviously if I keep everything on this level, then whenever I go to do a 1/4 inch right here, I'm going to not even catch any fabric. So I think what I did on that top left, I'm going to do right here. So let me do that and I'll be right back, and then we can do some trimming, and I'll just have to figure out what it is I do next to make everything look good. I have every confidence that it's going to be fine. It's just, honestly, like if I weren't making this quilt for all of y'all to see, I would just leave it. I would probably just cut that off and make it, because to me, I don't know. It's my quilt. I'm not giving it to anyone else. But I do care to, at least if I'm going to have these types of errors, I would really like to show you some ways that I would fix a problem if I had a problem, which I obviously do. So let me go, and I'm just going to sew a piece of fabric. Let me see. Yep, that one will fit. So I'm just going to go and sew this right here so that I have that extra 1/4 inch that I'm going to need to keep on with that piece. So I will be right back after I sew this on. Okay, so I have this piece sewed on, and let's get to trimming. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Since I have all this craziness going on, these are the steps that I usually take. Whether they are correct or not, this is just stuff that I've always done. I know you guys are over there like cracking up laughing at me. Believe me, it's okay. I crack up laughing at myself all the time. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I do. First, I'm obviously going to want to take this 1/4 inch line and make sure that it is right on the line where that seam is, right? Like that point in the seam. I'm going to make sure it's right there. I'm going to pull it a little bit because I want to try to get that one up there too. So I'm trying to sort of look at this one and this one, and I think they're okay. And then I just sort of take an eyeball look at these lines that go this way and where my seams are, and I try to see, you know, are they relatively even, you know, like even amount of space between them. I mean, that's the sort of thing I do. I don't look for perfection. I look for if it looks right by my eye. And the reason I say that is because what you're really looking for is to make sure that it looks straight when people look at it head on. Nobody's going to go up to it with a ruler, okay? So if I'm looking at it with my eye and that pretty much looks straight, then it's straight, guys. I mean, that's straight. I am probably the craziest quilter you've ever seen in your life, but that's how I go by things. All right, so now I'm going to trim up, and I don't like, I mean, I look at it, I'm like, you know what? There it is. It's good. Now I'm going to come down this way only because I've got this extra down here, and I don't have, I didn't have space to be able to scooch it. Okay, so I've got that gone now. And this looks crazy. I am with you. I know that looks nutballs, but you know what? It's okay. I'm going to work with it. It's going to be fine. I'm confident it's going to be okay. Okay, so I am trimmed up to like right here. So let me just pull a little bit of this down. It doesn't have to be perfect up there. I'm not going to reach up there anyway. Okay, this one was good and that one was good. And you see, I can already tell there's already going to be this. Now, with the O, what I'm looking at is right here and right there. And look how terrible that is. That's not going to work. So what I might actually do, I don't know, guys. Just, everybody just pray. I know how crazy this all sounds. I sound like some sort of crazy person. I know. It's all right. It's all right. Everything's going to be fine. Okay, so I think what's going to happen is this will be cut off just the tiniest bit. And this one is going to be off the other way a tiniest bit because I'm trying to make this X look really good. I have to make a decision somewhere. Okay, so just going to start from here. And I always like to just sort of keep sliding my hand down to hold it down. Okay, wasn't very much to trim because, like I said, most of my blocks are always too small, not too big. So, okay, so now whole quilt's gonna fall off the table. Okay, so I am going to, I know that this part down here, I don't even know, I probably don't have it that far down. I'm trying to hold this without it falling on the floor. Okay, so I know that right here, that was straight. And this was pretty much straight because of where I had the ruler. So I'm just going to look at that and see how we are. That looks pretty good. All right, so again, we're going to be on the edge right there, and there's really nothing I can do about that. And this eyeballs just fine. Okay, so really there's not much to cut except at the end there. Boop. Okay, so we've got this guy off. And then I am going to, okay, so this is a straight, I'm leaving that. I'm just going to do the other side. Okay, again with this kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is just like on the other side, I'm going to make sure that my points are at the 1/4 inch. And that actually is a kind of a straight little line right there. That's not bad. This looks eyeballed pretty good. It's not bad. So I am going to trim there. Okay. Okay. All right. Now, pull this down. I know I've got I've got that 1/4 inch, that 1/4 inch, and then let me see where this is. Yeah, that's sticking out a lot. I see, and I noticed this even whenever I was sewing it. So because even on this side it was wrong, so I'm good with that. I'd rather if my X's look really nice. You got to make a decision somewhere. If you have to fudge something, you got to figure out which is okay in your mind to fudge. All right, let's see. I think that was good right there. That looks good. And actually, even like right there where you're looking at this big, thicker black line, it's doing pretty good with my seam allowance right there too. I'm okay, happy with that. I think it looks nice. Okay, wasn't very much to trim there. All right, trying to get this so that it's not flying off the table. Okay. Yeah, that one's going to be off for sure, but that's all right. Okay, so I'm going to get this lined up because I know that this red part right there, or just, oh my goodness. I'm trying to be able to show you guys. I'm so sorry. Yeah, this was even. All right, and then I'm going to go up. Oh, that's looking weird. Oh, actually, it's not bad. Okay. And those seams are not bad. Okay, I'm happy with that. I can't wait to watch Kathy's video. I want to see. Boy, she's probably one of those people who like sews everything perfect, right? Oh my goodness. The kinds of stuff you're going to see over here, for goodness sakes. Okay, so for me, I am squared. Now, the next thing I need to do is I need to figure out how do I make this work. So I'm thinking, let's see. I wonder, I could probably release like that one stitch that went over, and then I could like tuck it under and try to do, that's what I'm going to try to do, just so that I can tuck this piece under. It looks like I've got one stitch that I went over, and I think over here I have one stitch that went over too. Actually, this one looks okay. Let me see if I can, I might need to, because this definitely needs to go under here. Or what I might be able to do is if I could just cut right there and then just do like a satin stitch. If I cut it right there and then just do a satin stitch. I mean, listen, it's my quilt. And nobody's going to see that. It's right on the edge. Okay, you know what? I think that's what I'm going to try to do. Let's see what it's going to look like. I've never done this before. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And let's see what it's going to look like. Okay, so here I am with my quilt top, ready to put my borders on, and I have these right here. I just gave them a quick press to get the bins out because I had folded, you know, anyway, you know what I mean. Okay, so the way that it's drawn, if you look in figure 1, whenever you have a strip that is overlapping another one, you know that the ones that are being overlapped are the ones that are going to go on first. So we're going to put on our left and right borders first, and then once we get those on, we'll come back and we'll put a border on the top and on the bottom. So let's get started with that. Okay guys, so here we are. We have attached the 2 side borders, and now what I want to do is I'm going to trim off the excess from the top and the bottom of each one. And let's see, just going to line it up with the top, and just to get some of those strigglies off, I'm just gonna, oops, I moved it. Ah. There we go, strigglies and then moved. That's awesome. Okay, so got that's one, and then I'm gonna do the one at the top. Same way. Alrighty. And then I'm going to do the bottom. Yes, I just said my elbow itches. I don't know why I was whispering. Okay. And then this last piece. And I'm getting a bit of fraying here, so I'm gonna try to just take some of that off. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put the top and the bottom borders on. And when I took, like, they gave us 3 strips for the top and the bottom. And the reason why they did that is because one strip was like just short. So what I did was I attached them, all 3 of them together, with just bias joining, and then I took it and I cut it in half, and that way I can sort of stagger where this piece is. It doesn't have to be like right on the end, which would look really silly, so I can kind of put it somewhere in the middle, and so that's what I'm gonna do. Let's just attach those now. Okay guys, so here is my finished quilt. Well, the quilt top anyway. And you're seeing like all sorts of crazy stuff in my sewing room. So sorry about that. But to try to like get far back back far enough to see the whole thing, I had to like rearrange a whole bunch of stuff. So there we go. That's the end. I hope you guys had a great time making this quilt. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, even with the small mistakes that I had, or you might want to call them large. I don't know. I don't think they were that big of a deal in the long run. Yeah, so I think it came out great. And I hope you guys had a great time. I hope to see you in the next sew along for Fort Worth Fabric Studios. I personally am not sure when it is, but it will be sometime in the next 2 or 3 months. So I will see you then. And I think you're seeing Sammy. Who is that? Nope, that was Smudgy. Okay, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for sewing along with me. I really had fun with you.